There's much that India expects from the Rouhani visit: an agreement on developing the Farzad gas field for one, completion of the Chabahar port, and a predictable mechanism for making oil payments to Iran. But what about Iran? What would President Rouhani be hoping to achieve from his 3-day state visit to India, only the third by an Iranian leader in 15 years? For one, trade and investments will be high on Rouhani's agenda. He's told Iranian media that Iran and India, and I'm quoting, have had economic, cultural, communications, telecommunication, health, industry and agricultural ties which will continue and further develop. Specifically, Iran would be looking at infrastructure development, including railways. We've talked about this. Indian investment in petrochemicals, healthcare building, including pharmaceuticals, information technology, agriculture, transit system, cooperation in railways, building a railway line from Chabahar to Zahedan, sale of railway locomotives, setting up a locomotive manufacturing facility in Iran. Good political ties. A lot on Mr. Rouhani's list. The development of Chabahar port in particular, for which India is willing to commit up to $500 million is another marquee project. Rouhani has said, and I'm quoting again, development of Chabahar port and linking India through this to Afghanistan and Central Asia is very important for both countries. Apart from bilateral issues, Rouhani would also be keen to court New Delhi on the international stage and hope that India will maintain bilateral ties on an even keel in spite of possible changes in American policy towards Iran going forward. He said, and I'm quoting again, Iran and India also share concerns including terrorism, as both are members of the non-aligned movement. Rouhani's visit to India comes at a time when Washington is threatening to walk out of the Iran nuclear deal and impose fresh sanctions on Tehran. My colleague Maral sent us this report.
President Hassan Rouhani has finally made his anticipated trip to India, his first ever India visit as Iran's president. And it was made in such a critical time. Ties with India were never more economically and strategically important to Iran. Economic pressure is building in Iran as strong policies have crippled investment and international banking in the country, not to mention deterioration of trade following US sanctions on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Currently, trade with India, the fifth biggest economy in the world, is almost as significant to Iranians as it is their trade with China or South Korea. Considering Iran's international policy agendas, India can make a great ally to Iran to further its policy and interests in the East Asia. Iran is systematically courting India to attract investment and also in matters concerning the balance of power with China and the role Israel hopes to play in Afghanistan with the help of India. Also, India has a strong artillery capacity and force, which makes it an attractive prospect for procuring arms. Iranian media has covered this trip extensively by outlining the importance of ties with India. But it is not only a strengthening of ties with India that Iranian public is concerned about, but if President Rouhani can indeed make deals that can actually manifest solid results, like we saw in the case of Chabahar Port project.
India's Supreme Court has delivered a landmark verdict on the long-running Cauvery river water dispute. The two neighbouring states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, have been at loggerheads over water sharing. The crux of the verdict that has come today is that the Supreme Court has reduced Tamil Nadu's share of water and allocated a bigger share to Karnataka. Why has it done that? To ensure drinking water for the city of Bengaluru. There's much more to the balanced judgment from India's top court today, including its core message: this river belongs to no one. WION's Jessica Taneja in Delhi and Nishchita Virendra in Bengaluru with this report.
It's a dispute that has lasted over 120 years. The two neighbouring states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have been at loggerheads over sharing the water of the river Cauvery that flows through the southern states. Now, in a landmark verdict, India's Supreme Court has settled the matter. The crux of the verdict is this: Karnataka has been asked to release 177.25 thousand million cubic feet of water to Tamil Nadu instead of 192. This means that Karnataka gets to keep around 14 TMC of extra river water.
The Karnataka has a special reason to be happy because our liability has been reduced by 14.25 TMC. The drinking water requirement of Bangalore has been fully protected.
The Cauvery verdict was delivered by a three-judge bench of the Supreme Court, which included the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra. The Supreme Court called Karnataka more deserving of additional waters, noting that the state has limited access, even though it's an upper riparian state. The most significant part of the judgment was the fact that the river belongs to no one and the waters need to be shared.
The key to the decision is the Supreme Court's acknowledgement of Bengaluru's water needs. The top court has prioritized its need for drinking water and referred to it as a global city. It has allotted 4.75 TMC for Bengaluru's drinking water out of Karnataka's increased share.
I think this paves the way, it sets the tone for interstate river disputes that are going to be increasing, because we are having severe shortage of water all across. It will also force states now to look at water conservation in a larger way and try to use their water in a more responsible way. I would say, apart from sharing, each state needs to do much more to ensure that they conserve water and have appropriate incentives that people and citizens are incentivized to use their water very judiciously.
While Karnataka has been rejoicing the verdict, the real winner in this case seems to be the city of Bengaluru. Bengaluru has largely been ignored when it comes to the Cauvery water dispute, considering the agrarian issues that have been at the heart of the interstate matter. Now, with the additional 4.75 TMC allotted especially for drinking water needs of the regions around the Cauvery basin, it goes on to show that the Supreme Court has given priority to access to clean drinking water over irrigation needs.
The issue of water is crucial to the states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, both in terms of its availability for farmers as well as for drinking. The court has offered a solution to Tamil Nadu's water requirements, even as it's reduced its share, saying the state's irrigation area had not been assessed properly. Tamil Nadu has been allowed to draw half the 20 TMC groundwater beneath the Cauvery basin. But many disappointed farmers in Tamil Nadu said the cut in the state's share of water would reduce cultivation by 1 lakh acres.
Now the Supreme Court has taken review that in view of the fact that groundwater level is available in Tamil Nadu, and also Bangalore city is requiring the water for drinking purposes. Now they have reduced the quantum awarded by the tribunal. So now in the entire judgment will be studied by the state of Tamil Nadu, and appropriate steps will be taken. At the same time, we are requesting the central government also to do the needful to provide water to the Tamil Nadu farmers.
Though the verdict is out, its political impact will be felt in the coming days, with the Karnataka state elections just round the corner. Bureau Report, WION.
Are water wars restricted to India? Not at all. Water wars are a global phenomenon with reasons for conflict, including religious rivalries and development dispute. At least since 3000 BC and down the long timeline of history, cutting a water supply to enemies has also been wielded as a military tool. So where else in the world has there been rage over rivers? Senior foreign editor Padma Rao takes a walk down the history of water wars.
Water everywhere, and no peace over a single drop. Water wars are as old as Noah. That is, they go back all the way to 3000 years before Christ. The ongoing Cauvery water dispute between the Indian states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka began in the late 1800s. So where else in the world were there disputes of water from that same era onwards? Let's take a look. In 1898, competing European powers France and Britain reached a settlement in Egypt after France tried to control the headwaters of the river Nile. In 1935, the US states of California and Arizona locked horns over California's construction of the Parker Dam and its diversion of the shared Colorado River. But the matter was settled in court. And in 1940, Finland successfully staved off Soviet troops during an armed conflict by diverting the waters of its own Saimaa Canal to flood crossing points. In 1951, Jordan wanted to irrigate the Jordan Valley by diverting the Yarmouk River. Israel hit back by draining some swamps located between Israel and Syria, and a border dispute ensued. After the partition of India and Pakistan, the two countries argued over the shared waters of the Indus, and an agreement was reached after 12 years of negotiations in 1960. And in the 70s, Argentina, Brazil and Paraguay squabbled over the Paraná River but reached an agreement in 1979. In 1986, North Korea announced plans to build the Kumgansan hydroelectric dam on a tributary of the Han River that mostly irrigates South Korea. It raised concerns of flooding in the south, but Seoul did not press the issue. In 1999, Central Asian republics Tajikistan, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan had a dispute over the Karaikum reservoir when Tajikistan released water and caused flooding in Kazakhstan. The dispute is on the back burner, but occasionally flares up as a retributional tool over other face-offs. And in 2013, China's Han majority and its Uyghur minority clashed over the Han building a dam over the Karakash River. 7 Han Chinese workers were killed. The conflict over the water may have ended by force, but the one between the Hans and the Uyghurs continues to escalate in China even today. Padma Rao, WION.
The latest now on what's being described as India's biggest bank scam. Nirav Modi and his uncle, Mehul Choksi's passports have been suspended for 4 weeks. India's top investigative agency, the CBI, and the Enforcement Directorate are also seeking the revocation of both passports. Jewellery designer Modi and his uncle and partner Choksi are the main accused in the $1.77 billion scam. They've been asked to respond within 1 week on why their passport should not be impounded or revoked altogether. 47-year-old Nirav Modi holds an Indian passport. He reportedly left the country on the 1st of January. His brother Nishal, a Belgian citizen, left the country the same day. Business partner Choksi, who's also the promoter of the well-known Gitanjali jewellery chain, departed on the 4th of January. While Ami Modi, Nirav's wife, who is an American citizen, left on the 6th of the same month. Reports suggest that they left separately to avoid suspicion. India's Ministry of External Affairs made a statement on the Modi case today saying that with his passport suspended, Nirav Modi cannot travel to any other country now.
This gentleman is not in touch with any of our officials, any of our ME officials. And frankly, at this stage, we are not aware about his location. In fact, it is difficult for me as a spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to kind of track him, where he is moving and in which country he is. We will act based on the advice which we receive from our agencies. We received this advice to revoke the passport. We have done that, and subsequently we will see what is to be done in this matter. We have, on the advice of the ED, we have suspended the validity of the passport. And if you are familiar with the Passports Act of 1967, this is a step towards the revocation of passport. Normally, I think a period of 4 weeks is given, which is also mentioned in our press statement. And they have to reply within 4 weeks why their passport should not be impounded or revoked under certain sections of the Passport Act. If they fail to respond within the stipulated time, then we will go ahead with the revocation.
In the meantime, sources say Modi's been traced to New York's JW Marriott Essex House. India's Central Bureau of Investigation has also approached Interpol to help locate Modi and his family. Earlier today, the CBI registered an FIR against the Gitanjali group of companies owned by Mehul Choksi based on Punjab National Bank's complaint dated the 13th of February. 3 of Choksi's companies figure in the FIR: Gitanjali Gems, Jili India and the Nakshatra brand. Based on the complaint, the CBI conducted raids against the Gitanjali group of companies at 20 locations in 6 cities across the country. A CBI team carried out searches for over 4 hours at PNB deputy manager's residence in Mumbai. Sources say the CBI team recovered some crucial documents during these raids. The alleged loss to Punjab National Bank is an estimated $761 million. Meanwhile, a whistleblower has come forward claiming that he informed the Prime Minister's office about this case in 2016 itself.
I had a complaint to PMO in the year 2016 after having failed to get any response from any other organization such as Enforcement Directorate or CBI or SEBI or CIFO. Everybody had written this letter. So when nobody responded to my complaints, ultimately I had written a letter to PMO requesting PMO to take necessary action to investigate, do the detailed investigation on this guy and his modus operandi.
And even as the scandal over the Indian diamond merchant Nirav Modi heats up, the focus is back on the long-standing link between Indian diamond merchants and a quiet town in the heart of Europe. Antwerp in Flemish Belgium boasts of a population of barely 520,000 people. Yet it's known as the diamond capital of the world, and a growing chunk of that population are Gujarati diamond merchants from India. So what's the connection between Ahmedabad and Antwerp? Well, it's a long story, but here it is in a nutshell. From the 15th century onwards, world diamond trade was dominated by Jewish diamond dealers in Belgium. However, 65% of the community was killed in the dreadful Holocaust, the mass extermination of Jews executed by Hitler's Nazis. Those who remained migrated either to Israel or to the US. It was in the 60s that Indians began to arrive, initially to take up less important jobs. Today, the Indian community in Antwerp, mostly from Palanpur in Gujarat, is an affluent community and one crucial to the survival of Antwerp as the world's diamond capital. Indian diamond merchants in that city have a good reputation, though they drive hard bargains. They work hard, keep business with families to cut costs, and have slowly edged out all competitors to emerge the leaders in the industry. But if it was the search for jobs that made them leave the then poor country India, it is the relative cheapness of labour back home in emerging India that is making them return now. The Indian jeweler we've been talking about, Nirav Modi, who is currently on the run from authorities in New Delhi for a huge scam, grew up in Antwerp. His ancestors had migrated first to Singapore and then to Belgium. Modi learned his craft from his grandfather. Today, the sign of a long line of diamond merchants is threatening to plunge the illustrious trajectory of his forefathers into ill repute. Washington will be burning the midnight oil over Turkey. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is back after a long meeting with the Turkish president. Does Washington side with Erdogan and keep NATO intact, or does it go with the Syrian Kurds, America's most reliable ally in that part of the world? WION's Daniele Pagani reports.
Heads of state are generally circumspect when speaking in public, but not Turkey's Erdogan.
It is very clear that those who say we will respond aggressively if you hit us have never experienced an Ottoman slap.
Not even his foreign minister.
It's natural that the confidence in the United States is lost among the public and amongst us, the administrators. This confidence needs to be restored. We don't want any promises and pledges anymore. We want concrete steps. We will assess these during Tillerson's visit because our relations are at a very critical juncture. We will either mend our ties or they will break apart.
Both comments were made ahead of US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's visit to Ankara. It was probably his toughest stopover on a 5-country swing through West Asia. Tillerson spent 3 hours with Erdogan and refused any comment. All Erdogan would say is that Turkey's expectation had been communicated. Their current tensions stemmed from Turkey's move into northern Syria, an area held by Kurds of the YPG allied to the US. Turkey says the YPG is a terrorist group linked to the Kurdistan Workers' Party. It's a dilemma for Washington. The US has given arms and training to the YPG since 2014. The YPG is the backbone of the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF. They spearheaded the anti-ISIS offensive in North Syria. SDF captured the Caliphate's capital, Raqqa. The US has proposed a $550 million aid package for the SDF. US Defense Secretary James Mattis is concerned that the Turkish campaign is diverting the Kurds from completing the war against the Islamic State.
You know, you've got the distraction of what's going on up in Afrin right now, which has drawn off some of the Syrian Democratic Forces, which have got about 50%. That's probably not a firm percentage, could be less, could be more, that are Kurds.
The Turks remain adamant.
We ask them to end all kinds of support they are giving to PKK's Syria branch, PID YPG, terrorist organization, and we demand this structure to be removed from SDF.
Add to that Turkey's demand that the US extradite cleric Fethullah Gulen, who they accuse of masterminding the 2016 coup against Erdogan. Washington says there's no evidence Gulen was involved in any plot of this kind.
The United States Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is on a very difficult mission, perhaps a sort of mission impossible. He needs to find a way out of a catch-22 situation. On the one hand, if he decides to abandon the Syrian Kurdish fighters, it means that Washington will be left with virtually no reliable ally on the ground in Syria and will be very much isolated. But on the other hand, certainly Washington cannot abandon Turkey, cannot break away from a long-standing ally and the second largest NATO member. The very existence of NATO would be at stake if that happens, and also Ankara could well decide to strengthen its military alliance with Russia, and Moscow would be very happy to shift the balances in West Asia. Rex Tillerson is currently on a damage control visit, perhaps the most difficult he faces during his 1 year in office. Daniele Pagani from Amman, Jordan, for WION.
Researchers have red flagged the steep fall in the population of Borneo's orangutans. In the past 2 decades, nearly half of the population in the island nation has simply vanished. Our next report tells you why.
Nearly 150,000 of these gentle animals have lost their lives in Borneo since 1999. The exploitation of the forest cover for logging, paper, palm oil and mining are the main causes, researchers revealed in this new study. Illegal hunting of the critically endangered apes is also a leading factor in their disappearance. On the ground, however, field workers have been warning of this risk for a while.
There's a very real risk of Bornean orangutans becoming extinct in the wild as a functioning species, as a part of the ecosystem within a few decades, so it's very concerning.
The primates have also been attacked by villagers who view them as pests and targeted by poachers to be sold as pets. Only last week, a wildlife group found an orangutan riddled with 130 pellets from an air rifle, in addition to cuts and bruises. The animal succumbed from his horrific wounds. Experts believe that only 70 to 100,000 orangutans are left in the Bornean wild, but the Pongo pygmaeus, native to this island, isn't the only one under threat. Its cousins, the Sumatran and Tapanuli orangutans, only recently discovered, are all considered critically endangered species. Researchers have analysed the various populations and found that only 38 out of 64 studied clusters contain more than 100 individuals, meaning enough to maintain a viable population. At the current pace, these scientists predict that 45,000 more of the slow-breeding gingerhead apes will be lost over the next 35 years. The tragedy is that as human development cannot be stopped, neither will the sad fate of these unique creatures. Bureau Report, WION.